YTN과 한국외대가 공동 주최하는 고등학생 영어 토론 대회가 올해로 10주년을 맞았습니다. 10년이면 강산도 변한다는데 이 대회를 찾는 학생들의 발길은 끊일 줄을 모르네요. 명실상부한 글로벌 대회로 자리 잡은 만큼 참가팀의 국적도 무척 다양해졌는데요.
Where are you from? China.
So we are from Japan.
Singapore.
이곳에서 만난 학생들은 걱정과 두려움보다는 즐거움과 자신감으로 무장하고 있었습니다.
It was like through a few friends. So I think the teacher introduced it to them, but they were from different schools, so they couldn't go because like exams were clashing. And then from there we just searched it up, and then we found that it's quite interesting and like it fits into the category. So yeah, so we just decided to try it out. And it also happens that like we have time now, so
YTN 대회가 아무래도 다른 대회에 비해서 규모도 크고 또 많은 학생들이 찾는 대회인 만큼 저희가 연습을 정말 많이 해서 또 노력을 정말 많이 해서 얻을 수 있는 그런 그 결과를 얻을 수 있는 장소라고 생각을 해서
아무래도 고3이라서 신경 써야 할 것도 많고 사실 주변에서 토론대회를 나간다고 했을 때 사실 말리는 시선들이나 정말 약간 정신이 있는 건 약간 이런 시선들도 많았지만 그래도 제가 토론에 대한 목표를 가지고 있고 그리고 토론을 통해서 배울 수 있는 여러 가지 것들이 저한테는 더 의미 있기 때문에
다양한 포부를 품은 학생들이 개회식장에 모여들면 대회는 명사의 격려와 응원 속에서 본격적인 시작을 알립니다.
YTN House 10 Youth English Debating Championship. 우리가 많은 사람들이 소중하게 생각하는 눈에 보이는 것들 위에 작지만 그에 못지않게 소중한 자산들이 많이 있습니다. 그런 것들을 여러분들이 무척 바쁘지만 이 대회 플랫폼이 조금씩 느끼고 여유를 갖기도 하는 그런 성숙한 사람으로 여러분들이 이 대회를 마칠 수 있고 또 복교해서 학교에서 공부를 계속할 수 있다면 이 여름에 여러분들처럼 정성을 다해서 이 시간을 쏟은 보람이 클 것으로 저는 생각을 합니다.
저희가 영어 토론 대회를 청소년 영어 토론 대회를 시작을 했던 것이 벌써 10년이 됐습니다. 그 전에 저희가 시작했을 때는 많은 일반인들에게 좀 생소한 분야였는데 외대하고 YTN이 같이 함께하면서 많은 일반인들에게 이제 공정과를 통해서 알려지게 되면서 좀 관심들이 많이 제고되는 것 같습니다. 우리 학생들도 그전에는 많이 좀 생소한 부분이어서 어렵고 혹은 좀 주저하고 하는 부분이 좀 있었다면 이제는 영어를 사용하던 경험들이 많이 있는 학생들뿐만 아니라 그냥 한국에서 평범하게 공부하던 학생들도 시도해 볼 수 있는 그런 분야가 되었다 이런 생각이 듭니다.
10년간 한결같이 영어 토론 문화를 선도해온 청소년 영어 토론 대회. 이 대회는 정부 역을 맡은 찬성팀과 야당 역을 맡은 반대팀이 논거를 번갈아 연설하는 의회식 토론 방식을 따릅니다. 다양한 즉흥 주제를 놓고 총 5번의 리그전을 치러야 이튿날 열리는 본선 토너먼트에 진출할 수 있는데요. 학생들은 짧은 시간 안에 최선의 논리를 구하려고 토의에 토의를 거듭합니다. 물론 학생들의 영어 실력과 논리성, 성숙한 토론 매너까지 모두 일품이지만 즉석에서 반박하고 또 그에 대응하는 순발력도 영어 토론의 묘미입니다. 심판은 토론자의 발언을 화술, 내용, 전략의 측면에서 종합적으로 평가하는데요. 토론 직후 이어지는 심판의 피드백은 다음 경기를 위한 중요한 팁이 됩니다.
I think the Korean debaters' English speaking is pretty strong. Yeah. And they speak really fast. That really scared me a lot.
좀 신선했던 게 그래도 아무래도 다른 나라 사람이니까 생각하는 방식이나 생각하는 아이디어가 조금 달라가지고 되게 신선하고 좀 재밌었던 것 같아요.
매 순간이 배움의 장이 되는 영어 토론 대회가 이튿날을 맞았습니다. 치열한 토너먼트 끝에 대망의 결승전만 앞두고 있는데요. 마지막 결승전 토론 주제를 함께 보실까요? 과학기술 분야입니다. 우리 정부는 기후변화의 원인을 비인간적인 출처로 돌리는 연구를 금지할 것이다. 이 주제로 결승 토론을 펼칠 쟁쟁한 두 팀을 소개합니다. 정부역의 찬성팀은 팀 매크로페이지, 야당역의 반대팀은 팀 부메랑. 흥미진진한 토론을 기대해봅니다. 단상에선 첫 주자. 살짝 긴장된 모습이지만 잘할 수 있겠죠?
영서 친구가 퍼스트 스피커를 맡았는데 사실 퍼스트 스피커가 가장 어려운 롤이라고도 하는데 그 이유가 이제 아규먼트를 가장 잘 애널라이즈를 하고 그 애널리시스가 굉장히 깊고 좀 자세하게 퍼스웨이시브하게 들려야 하는데 그 부분들을 요목조목 잘 집어서 해주기 때문에 그런 부분에서 굉장히 도움이 많이 되고 팀워크에도 크게 기여하는 친구입니다.
정부 수상 발언입니다.
Hello, Mr. and Madam Speaker. As the PM of the final debate today, I'm extremely honored to open this debate. But since I have only 8 minutes to win this debate, I will directly go on to explain the premises that we wish we can carry throughout this debate. We have two premises for you. Firstly, we believe that scientific research is not just made up of numbers and statistics. It is also important how it is presented and interpreted, and this can change according to the intent that people have. Secondly, although there may be a predominant narrative, people, the citizens, the public, love to believe what actually takes away their sense of guilt. We believe those premises are firm in this debate today. So when a scientist or a researcher is carrying out a research, there's definitely going to be an affiliation that is funding that person and actually making, no thank you, that research possible, right? So they're going to offer large sums of money, and they're also going to give a premeditated agenda, right? The goal of research to specific researchers. And since these researchers are only able to do this research because of the fund, these people are going to be pressured to follow the agendas set out by the people who are funding them. For the cases of these researchers that cause, say, non-human causes of climate change, we believe that the actors behind this have an extremely strong interest to deny human activities like contribution to climate change, because, no thank you, we believe that the most definitive actors in this case are things like automobile industries, like oil industries, or libertarians. And these are people or corporations that prioritize economic development and deny the necessity of environmental protection, to why the government role is so important in this case. Firstly, these kinds of how climate change denial is actually, so climate change caused by human denial on that point is actually effective in gathering believers. And we see that already, historically, there's already been researches that actually deny that kind of human contribution, but we see that they have been very, very remarkably effective in leading the public sentiment to our case, because as I have already premised, these people love to believe what take their guilt away. They love to just live and use all the materials they want and think that this doesn't really have an serious impact on the earth and the futures of their generations. No, thank you. Now, going on to the second point, I'm gonna analyze the second analysis is how the climate change issue itself is very unique and exclusive in our society today. So firstly, we believe that the magnitude of harm is something not very easily seen in any other global issues right now. So we believe that this magnitude of harm can be spread upon the entire society. We already see that there are hundreds and hundreds of researches proving that if we do not stop these kind of climate change from happening, our climate will become very, very unstable. So we believe that those kind of pernicious impacts of climate change will be spread across borders. Second point, there's the very time sensitivity issue. So we believe that we have to take action as soon as possible. We have no time to make this a partisan issue that's being debated and debated about people. We need to take this action as soon as possible, because there's also many researchers saying that we all are impending on a point of no return. And even though if we accept that this is we are the ones who have to change this kind of situation, even though we do that, there is definitely a time frame that we need to change our actions. And we believe that if we do not start doing this right now, it's going to be too late. Thirdly, there's the point of irreversibility. We cannot unmelt like melted ice caps. We cannot re-ozone the atmosphere. We cannot also cut down grow back, cut down forests in like a timely fashion. And we need to do things in a timely fashion, right? We believe that since this is so irreversible, we need all of that collected public activity in this case to actually help our cause, right? Today in this debate, we believe that we need to see that what kind of dishonest intent lies behind the innocent guise of science. We believe we need to see how irresponsible people who are actually backing up these researchers are. We believe this is too big of an issue to keep these people on a long leash. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put them in a cage. Let's put these risks in a cage. Thank you.
정부 수상역의 박영서 학생은 과학연구는 재정적인 이유로 기업의 영향을 많이 받고 있으며 기후변화는 시급한 문제이기 때문에 정부의 역할이 중요하다고 강조했습니다. 그렇다면 찬성팀의 연설에 전혀 기죽지 않고 침착하게 토론을 준비하는 반대팀의 첫 주자는 어떤 학생일까요?
우리 팀메이트 첫 번째 스피커는 나지원이고요. 나지원은 되게 맨날 열심히 노력하고 우리가 딴짓할 때도 되게 집중하라고 잘 해주고 그리고 되게 첫 번째 스피커 잘 어울리는 게 뭐냐면 되게 섬세하고 얘도 되게 너무 침착해서 우리가 나중에 나올 때 되게 쉽게 만들어줘서 되게 좋은 것 같아요.
야당 대표 발언입니다.
The first layer of analysis is that climate change is an extremely urgent issue in the status quo. Number one, we think that the problem is that they never describe to how banning research will exactly incentivize people to change in the first place. But even if we assume that they prove that link, number two, we think that the majority of people in the status quo already know that climate change is predominantly caused by human activities. Under this premise, people are still not taking action to combat climate change. That's it, Mr. Speaker. When we think that people already are aware that climate change is caused by human activities and they're still not taking action, that means that side government and banning research isn't actually going to be effective because they simply block information. Number two, they tell you about how research is skewed due to lobbying in the status quo. Number one, we tell that there are also companies that lobby for research that support the idea that climate change is caused by human actions. They need to prove to you why this is exclusive underside opposition, Mr. Speaker. We think companies such as IKEA, Apple, and Walmart are not already make sure that already lobby for research that supports the idea that climate change is caused by human activity. But also, they tell you about how people like to relieve their guilt through research. Mr. Speaker, we also think that the majority of the reasons of people who don't combat climate change in the status quo is not because they're unaware or not because they don't feel guilty. It's rather because they prioritize economic development rather than environmental protection under the status quo. That's why, Mr. Speaker, we don't think that the team of government is actually solving all of these problems existing under their side. Now let's move on to our case. Our first argument is that a ban on research critically harms both discourse and democracy. We have three levels of analysis to prove this. Number one, the integrity of intellectual and academic discourse must always be protected. Every piece of research adds unique value to our understanding of the environment, and by allowing the academia and scientists to have free reins, we will stay committed to pursue all kinds of truth rather than the ones that are the most convenient to us. Number two, we think that intellectual discourse must be free from politicization. Science must never be weaponized in politics because people will introduce political incentives to skew scientific outcomes. This has been the case in the abortion debate with the pro-life versus the pro-choice political movements. When discussing whether or not the fetus must be considered a life, political groups have funneled money to researchers in order to influence the outcome of their academic research. This has resulted in intellectual discourse with huge credibility issues and accusations of bias on top of the complete inability to achieve a scientific consensus. There are so many opposing research on simple matters such as whether the fetus can feel pain or at which week their brain has begun to develop due to these political incentives. In contrast, the climate change discourse has been relatively healthy, with a majority of scientists, 97%, reaching a consensus that human activities are the primary cause of global warming. Number three, the silencing of one type of research is undemocratic and a form of state abuse of power. The state has a duty to guarantee that individuals will be able to have their freedom of speech, and the ability to censor scientific expressions is so lethal that it could destroy functioning checks and balances against the state. The human rights of citizens must never take a back seat to the state's political agenda because it allows the state to have the moral legitimacy to expand this to other political goals. The state is actively manipulating information in circulation and the credibility of such information to ensure that their citizens will make certain choices. This is not consistent with the principles of democracy and free choice, as it does not allow allow the citizens free access to information that might impact their decisions. My second argument is how side government emboldens climate change skeptics. The anti-climate change movement are present political actors with their own voter base, and the last thing we should do is give them more ammunition to rile up their own voters. We told you, Mr. Speaker, that number one, it might be that people are more likely to prioritize economic development over environmental protection. Number two, we told you that people in the status quo already know that climate change is predominantly caused by human actions, but they still don't take action in the status quo. They never prove to us why, under that context, where banning research would be effective in convincing these peoples to change their minds. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, we're extremely happy to oppose against a side government that doesn't prove any of the benefits that they want to talk about in today's debate. And for all these reasons, we are very proud to oppose. Thank you.
야당 대표 역의 나지원 학생은 학문은 정치로부터 자유로워야 하며 과학은 정치의 무기가 돼선 안 된다고 주장했습니다. 또한 연구를 금지한다고 해서 기후 문제에 관한 국민적 행동이 촉발되진 않는다는 점을 지적했습니다. 찬성팀의 두 번째 토론자가 벌써 다음 발언을 준비하고 있네요. 별명이 걸어다니는 백과사전이라던데요. 먼저 친구의 소개를 통해 만나볼까요?
네, 인서가 평소에도 여러 가지 되게 사회적 이슈들에도 관심을 많이 가지고 있기 때문에 굉장히 되게 누군 잡지식이라고 할 수 있겠지만 저희 디베이트는 굉장히 도움되는 사실들을 많이 알고 있는 친구고 또 저희 팀원 중 누구보다도 굉장히 디베이트를 오랫동안 해왔던 친구여서 이런 상황들에서는 저희가 굉장히 위축될 수도 있고 솔직히 긴장될 수도 있는데 그런 상황에서 항상 되게 편안하게 해주고 위로해주고 또한 되게 강력한 지도력을 가지고 저희 팀을 이끌어 나가주는 친구라고 생각합니다.
정부 부수상 발언입니다.
Government portrayed that under our world, government will be portrayed as a conspiring entity. We're not going to do this. How is that? We believe that we're going to clarify in the governmental sector publicly by explaining the background of this ban, actually explaining how it's scientifically inaccurate for you to believe why climate change is a myth, and highlighting the fact, as he had explained, quote unquote, 97% of the scientists actually concede that climate change is dominantly created due to human actions and human endeavors. So we believe that this type of clarification would happen in the governmental sector and actually explain those types of claims, those minor claims, which are exploited by those interest groups and those types of fossil fuel companies as scientifically inaccurate. We're going to publicly signal we're not trying to ban this research because we have some hidden facts, but rather that type of research itself is misleading you, and those are not research for valid grounds in the status quo. They're usually skewed experiments, as our previous speaker had mentioned, that are confounded of useful data that actually discards useful data if it's found to go against the interests of those powerful automobile industries or the corporations that they have listed in their previous speaker's speech. We're going to prove to you why, in this sense, the government has the obligation to bring and pass actual legislation to justify how this type of collective action in countering climate change is so necessary, as our previous speaker had highlighted, since this exclusive harm of environmental damage is something that we cannot just simply revoke in the long term. Now let's go on to the rebuttals. We have 3 points of rebuttals. Firstly, onto their characterization of the status quo. They've explained how in the status quo there is a significant change happening, students are lightened with actions, and there is high possibility of change happening. We believe that this was a very wishy-washy characterization within their stance because they have explained how students already know how climate change is so important. We don't agree with that context in the first place because when it comes to the context of US and South Korea, we see strong laws and actual environmental regulations on big companies not being passed in the Senate, not being passed on the Congress because of lobbyists and those conservative politicians, which are fueled from those very skewed think tanks, conservative think tanks, that provide a single case that actually explains how climate change is a myth, when among those thousands of other experiments conducted by other more credible scientists. So we think that in this type of reality, we don't see actual change happening within the US. We don't see actual regulations being implemented effectively within South Korea. We think that the main reason behind this is because those types of minor researches, even when they're deemed by the scientific community as false, by the public and in the public's narrative, they actually deem that as a fact because that's under a research, under a scientist, and since it's more highlighted in the media, since it's portrayed as more counterintuitive and intriguing to the people actually are actually prone to believe in those counterclaims even when there are a minority opinion within these professional eras. It would be that under this context, the government has the obligation to ban those types of researches which are misleading those individuals. And then secondly, when it comes to the corporate level, and we believe that especially when it comes to regulating the massive amount of greenhouse emissions that happen within the corporate level, it's very important to create binding laws that actually accurately regulate their actions. But in the status quo, we see those companies actually fueling those conservative think tanks and quoting certain specific researches that are skewed within the Congress. And since politicians do not have the scientific expertise and the background and the context about that specific research, they're more prone to believe, especially when they're conservatives, that are accurate and how climate change is not actually a severe problem that has the potential to threaten the entire community. It actually leads to those conservative politicians not recognizing the importance of this problem and actually not trying to pass laws that dramatically regulate this type of greenhouse gas emissions and gruesome environmental damage happening within the corporate level. I believe that's this type of justification of the government to emboldenly and actually effectively enforce and reinforce those types of environmental regulations only happens if it's based by solid facts. And this type of solid facts are now not nullified, not questions about research that are structurally skewed and also confounded by certain interest groups that have no favor of citizen interests, that do not care about the well-being of the citizens, only about how much they will earn by this type of specific research. I believe that it's in the interest of the government and also interest in the public to ban those types of researches and actually reinforce how climate change is such a severe problem that might be an extreme threat to humanity. Thank you.
정부 부수상역의 최인서 학생은 기후변화에 대한 실질적인 규제가 없으므로 사익을 추구하는 기업을 더 강력히 규제할 필요가 있다고 연설했습니다. 이에 맞설 다음 주자는 보기에도 듬직한 팀의 대들보라고 하네요. 어떤 학생인가요?
저희 팀메이트의 세컨드 스피커인 Deputy Prime Minister는 주한인데요. 항상 작년 때부터 느꼈던 거지만 저희가 질 것 같은 상황에 나와서 듬직하게 저희 팀 의견을 다시 말해주고 상대편을 반박하면서 저희 팀이 왜 이겼는지 침착하게 논리적으로 잘 설명하는 사람이에요. 그래서 항상 주한이는 저희 팀한테 기여하는 게 많고 저희 팀이 조금 흔들리고 있거나 좀 뭔가 감정적으로 좀 힘들 때 많이 도와주고 듬직한 팀메이트가 되는 것 같아요.
야당 부대표 발언입니다.
Today's debate, I'm going to do two things. First, I'm going to rebut every single point coming from their side, and I'm going to give my third argument about why it's going to create even a worse problem with misinformed voters. So, rebuttals. They continuously told us about how there's structurally skewed lobbying, but we still haven't heard a link on why their policy will actually solve the problem. Why are they doing the least thing, right? Why can't they just create governmental regulations? Why can't they literally ban lobbying itself? They still haven't given us actual linkage on why their policy is going to be so much beneficial in preventing these lobbyings. Also, we also gave you examples on how lobbying exists within liberal organizations such as Apple or Walmart, right? That clearly shows that there is a balance of interest, there's a balance of lobbying. We don't really understand why we need to do that in the first place. My third argument is why this policy will lead to a post-truth political climate which creates even a worse problem of misinformed voters. I have three levels of analysis. Firstly, this will reduce the credibility of scientific research. The ban will signal to the public that the government is willing to actively intervene in the discoveries of new scientific knowledge, and the most scientific discovery are the result of government manipulation and intervention. Once citizens conclude that all scientific research are done to further the government's interest, this will greatly disempower the role of science and fact within political discourse. As opposed to approaching research in a critical manner, such as analyzing if research was in any way flawed due to discrepancies such as small sample size or inaccurate methodology used, they will outrightly reject it out of political suspension. Which, with facts no longer being an influencer of discourse, the political climate becomes even more skewed as voters will live in their own alternate realities and refuse to engage with one another. Secondly, it will lead to an entire voter base refusing to believe the scientific truth due to sheer distrust of the party delivering the information. The post-truth political climate is most clearly exemplified under Trump's administration in the US and its ability to paint all liberal media as fake news and lying media. Thirdly, ultimately, this will worsen policymaking through misinformed voters, and the government will fail in the goal of passing climate change action. We need to remember that the scientific truth is already on the side of climate action. So all the state has to do is focus on greater education and the proliferation of science. In order to engineer the right focus on greater education and proliferation of science in order to engineer the right environmental policies. But now with the politically divisive discourse in a post-truth reality, voters will cast votes to complete exclusion of facts. Politicians will be more likely to spread misinformation. That's why we think that they have exclusive harms in today's debate and we have exclusive benefits. Thank you.
야당 부대표 역의 성주환 학생은 정부의 정책으로는 로비의 부정적인 측면을 해결할 수 없으며 오히려 더 나쁜 정치 풍토를 불러올 것이라고 반박했습니다. 토론이 치열해지는 가운데 각 팀의 마지막 주자만 남아 있습니다. 막중한 임무를 맡은 이 학생은 팀원에겐 어떤 동료일까요?
승윤이가 항상 차분하게 디베이트에서 어떤 일이 일어났는지 그리고 어떤 점을 우리가 더 잘했는지를 항상 되게 정리된 매너로 잘 얘기를 해줘서 항상 나였으면 저 상황에서 그렇게 침착하게 얘기를 못했을 것 같은데 항상 그렇게 우리 팀이 왜 더 좋은 논리를 폈는지를 항상 설명을 해줘서 그런 점에 있어서 되게 능력이 있는 것 같습니다.
여당 원내 총무의 발언입니다.
So, Mr. Madam Speaker, today the opposition side characterized public who was so smart and publicly aware of this climate change, but did not take any actions, which means that under even cases that we actually have the researchers for both the non-human sources or human sources, then their public also does not have any incentive to encourage the companies or encourage the government to actually actively implement this policy in order to regulate these companies immoral, inhumane actions and some environmental harms that actually happening under the status quo. And that's why under this debate, this is rather or not actually do we have those kind of both causes or not, but we're debating on the fact that who can actually bring the practicality and practical implementation and law enforcement of the government, and who can gain the public demands and support for these implementations and government justifications. And that's why under their characterizations, they already failed to prove why they can actually solve this problem. So before I move on to the two questions, firstly, how does the scientific research gain its authority as a significant assertion? And second, who would actually call for the practical solution? I'll first rebut for the previous speaker. He just irresponsibly said that you just need to ban lobbying and government regulate these companies who are doing these affecting to these environmental harms. But firstly, Mr. Madam Speaker, if there's no lobbying or affiliate companies or whatnot, they cannot ever go for the researches and some accuracy that they want to obtain. And that's why the banning lobby is itself unavailable because of the economic structure. But that's why the government has a responsibility to actually provide a very transparent mechanisms to banning and restricting these companies to affiliate and distort the information that is publicized to the public. And second of all, who would actually practically call for the practical solutions? Government said, and Ellis told us, the characterization of the public is aware of the climate change but not take actions. So it would be the same after these implementations of the policy. However, if that characterization was so correct, because of their economics incentives or those incentives mechanisms within the individuals, there's no reason for this public to also call for these researches and technologies that can tackle these non-human sources that aggravates the environmental harms. And that's why, just by telling us that government is actually reducing the credibility of the scientific researches, which is already skewed by these affiliate companies, is lacking its actual practical benefits that can bring out to the society. And also they talked about how this is limiting academic research, but there are so many justifiable examples that government has an active engagement into the scientific research areas and actually ban certain kinds of fields such as superbacteria development or whatnot. And that's why if the government sees the practical harms and exclusive benefits that gain by the public and massive amounts of benefits for the society, they also have the justification to actually actively engage into that point. And also they said these people would like to know academic researches and informations about these non-human sources. But Mr. Madam Speaker, do we need that? We don't think that is actually necessary, because if we can actually call for more practical actions and more public actions, then that will end to be having more technologies and more developments and more regulations on the companies that also mainly making a human source, human causes of environmental harms, but that will also link to the other technologies that also tackles other of the problems at the end of the day. So that's why their characterization that we're losing a certain 50% of these harms, that 50% of the problems causes will actually be actually not a realistic characterization, because this is about the matter of collective actions will be called for or whatnot. And that's why anti-climate movements that they characterize will also be the public characterizations of their side actually prove to us they have no practicality benefits at the end of the day. To call for that collective actions, which is very necessary because of the exclusive characteristic of the environmental harms. So that's why even if we do actually limit a certain extent to this scientific research, we gain the benefit of making a better environment. Thank you.
여당 원내 총무역의 이승윤 학생은 정부의 정책이 기후변화라는 공동의 문제를 해결할 수 있는 실제적이고 대중적인 정책이 될 수 있다고 연설했습니다. 드디어 오랫동안 기다려온 반대팀의 마지막 주자입니다.
우리 세 번째 스피커는 재은이고요. 재은이는 정말 반박이랑 그런 논리적이게 말을 잘 풀어나가지고 우리 1번, 2번을 못했던 걸 다시 커버업하고 다시 우리 케이스를 심판한테 다시 이렇게 딱 잘 얘기해 주는 것 같아요.
야당 원내 총무의 발언입니다.
Ladies and gentlemen, we know we want this debate when Team Proposition supports a policy that renders the once innovative and democratic power of science nothing but a tool for government propaganda, while even failing to solve the main issue of climate change at hand. So moving on directly to two cautions in today's debate. First caution, the government ultimately have the justification to suppress scientific discourse. Second, under which side can we best solve the issue of climate change? Moving on directly to the first caution. We told you that silencing scientific research is undemocratic, considering that the government is deliberately manipulating information and shuttling down expression of the citizens and stripping them from the right to proper information. We told you that the integrity and the value of science that is significantly being compromised and is an exclusive harm that is still standing in team opposition. But not only that, ladies and gentlemen, the only response that kept on coming from their side is that the problem is that people are buying this kind of skewed scientific research, right? How these kind of old corporations are prioritizing economic statistics, and also the fact that they're going to influence these kind of political effects in the first place. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to clarify, it was never really the scientific research that trapped conservative voters into echo chambers in the first place or enabled President Trump to pull out of the Paris Accord. We think President Trump actually needed no credible academic journal supporting the fact that climate change was not real. He merely needed a Chinese conspiracy that climate change was actually a hoax, right? But secondly, when they talk about lobbying, we told you that that is a problem with the systematic lobbying itself. We think actually the environmental EPA actually gets $8 billion of investment in the status quo for environmental progress in the first place. We think compared to the minimum marginal funds these kind of old corporations have, we think that there is a clear impact that is going on within the status quo. But ladies and gentlemen, the only thing that came from their previous speakers that, oh, the government has a justification to ban this because the government bans superbacteria development. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, that is assuming that because superbacteria development had a direct harm upon the society, if we can prove to you that there is actual utility, there is utility when it comes to solving this climate change, they cannot stand this kind of justification. So before I move on to the second question, let me tell you that the reason why we do not ban any type of creationists, we don't ban any type of flat earth scientists or certain astrologists in the status quo, is because they are an adequate check and balance mechanism against us being unscientific or being too dogmatic. We think they always incentivize us to seek for this kind of scientific truth because we know for sure that they're the ones with the most active incentive to prove us wrong anytime if we exploit our majority position, right? We think that therefore these scientists are the only checks and balances to achieving a greater scientific truth, which is an attribute of accuracy that we're willing to stand for in today's debate. Because we think the best way to discredit science is to let people speak. It's to hear these people's diverse perspectives and introduce better and much more compelling evidence to mock them or to shame them to believing that your issues and your standpoints are wrong. We think, ladies and gentlemen, that is the only way in which views can get discredited in society. It's not by the government directly manipulating the scientific information that is already existing within the status quo. We think the only response that came from their side, so they're going to make this publicly open that this research is scientifically inaccurate. First of all, we clearly told you from the previous speaker, we think that dictators actually ban discourse and say that it's good for the people. But we think, ladies and gentlemen, it's even harder to believe this kind of scenario under their side when these kind of climate change skeptics are going to use and exploit this kind of opportunity to push for their anti-climate scheme in the first place. So the reason why we win this debate, ladies and gentlemen, is simple. First of all, we proved to you why only under our side can we value the idea of scientific discourse, which we think something as a benefit that they have not engaged upon. But second, ladies and gentlemen, they ultimately fail because they fail to prove to us the exclusivity of the scientific research, what kind of exact impact the scientific research had on not only the influences of people, but also upon the influences of oil corporations, about these politicians who do not need any kind of scientific research to, promote their profit in the first place. We don't think that politicians depend upon actual facts. They just depend on things that can best benefit their political position in society, meaning that we think that scientific research banning is completely going to not solve this issue as a whole, but rather we have to attack this climate change issue in a bigger picture through our policy in which we consider diverse approaches and diverse perspectives. And that is what I'm more than proud to pose. Thank you.
야당 원내 총무역의 양재은 학생은 정부가 과학 연구를 조작하는 일은 비민주적이고 독단적인 행위이며 문제 해결에 아무런 도움이 되지 않는다고 비판했습니다. 이제 각 팀의 최종 발언 순서입니다. 먼저 야당의 최종 발언입니다.
So I'm going to separate my speech into two ideas. First, regarding policies, political change. Second, regarding public opinion. So first, regarding policies and political change. They continuously told us about the ideology of lobbying, but we already told you from our rebuttals that as long as ExxonMobil exists, as long as there's an incentive for people, they're going to always use different types of lobbying, right? They're going to use the benefits of economy, right? No response whatsoever. We think that's not an exclusive benefit coming from their side, and that's exactly why we asked them, why are you doing the least possible thing in order to solve that? If that's one of the only problems that exist, why can't you just solve the idea of lobbying related to oil companies, for example? No response still whatsoever. Then my second point about public opinion. They told us about how they're going to solve everything by changing people's opinion. So first of all, let's just agree with their characterization that a lot of people are skeptics. Trump only needed the fact, he only said it was created by a Chinese hoax. That's all he needed to actually convince his voters and convince Republicans to support his policies. It shows that evidence is not really necessary, and they still haven't actually provided those links. Secondly, we told you about how it rather increases the voice of these individuals, and they could literally say, well, it's a controversy and it's rather the government's rather trying to support things like Tesla or renewable energy sources, and that's what the liberal liberal government is rather trying to do. That rather decreases the credibility of these types of the liberal media and the liberal type of politicians, and that's exactly why it's going to be more harmful. And we also told you why that's an exclusive harm, especially because people can now not be able to not check the information at all, even if people say even if people tell these people that these studies existed in the past. That's why it's an exclusive harm to begin with.
야당은 최종 발언을 통해 정부 정책으로는 로비나 기후변화 문제를 해결할 수 없으며 직접적인 해결책인 기업에 관해선 전혀 언급하지 않았다고 비판했습니다. 그럼 정부 측의 최종 발언입니다.
May I begin? The common endgame of both teams is which world actually mediates this type of climate change, which is causing extreme harm, jeopardizing the future of humanity as we look at the weather now. We believe that in the status quo, we don't see any type of powerful regulations when it comes to the industrial sector or the public sector, any type of climate regulations being in place and the context of US and South Korea. We believe that the major reason why is because, as we have clarified, there are claims, there are scientific researches which are actually funded massively by those corporate interests, those massive corporate interests, and how scientists within that research aren't actually genuinely willing to research in that area, but rather people which are funded by those people and forced by those people to get the money. And also they have not engaged to our unique characterization of how the uninformed information asymmetry of public and politicians are now skewing this problem even further. Since politicians and public are not scientists and they do not know the exact context of that research, funders of that research, they take those issues as granted. They take those facts as granted, and we have proven to you in a psychological manner when it comes to individuals acknowledging the problem that climate change exists, but do not feel the compelling need to take action because they know that there are certain counterclaims that make us believe and make us trust, oh, it's not such an imminent issue since there are other scientists which claim that this is a myth. I believe that those types of beliefs within people are harmful in and of itself because this blocks those types of very important regulations passing in the Congress and getting citizen support in the first place. Also, when it comes to the corporate sector, when those corporate lobbyists try to justify
their claims in Congress by citing those examples in a state when politicians do not really know about the scientific context, do not have the scientific expertise to grasp whether this is scientifically accurate or not. This actually leads those conservative politicians not to believe in the imminency and the harms that climate change actually brings upon to our society.
정부는 최종 발언을 통해 연구의 자율성을 기업이 침해하고 있으므로 대중이 기후변화의 심각성을 인식하기 어렵다고 주장했습니다. 따라서 직접적인 문제 해결을 위해 정부가 나서야 한다는 점을 강조했습니다. 뜨거웠던 설전이 끝나고 드디어 2018년 고등학생 영어 토론 대회 최강자를 가릴 순간이 다가왔습니다.
With a 9-0 decision of adjudicators, the championship goes to Team Boomerang. Congratulations.
올해 제너럴 리그의 챔피언은 부메랑 팀이, EFL 리그의 챔피언은 네버원 팀이 차지했습니다. 토론에 참여한 우리 학생들 모두 수고 많았어요.
사실 제가 듣기로는 중등부 고등부 팀 둘 다 우승한 팀이 없다고 해서 고등부에도 나오고 싶었던 건데 이번에 할 수 있어서 되게 기분이 좋은 것 같아요.
나오고 보니까 생각보다 오히려 대회에 나와서 배우고 가는 게 더 많은 것 같아요. 네, 그래서 참 뜻깊은 하루였습니다.
같이 토론하면서 정말 저희도 한 번도 저희가 이길 거라고 생각한 적이 없었거든요. 그래서 진짜 다들 너무 실력 있고 정말 쟁쟁한 토론자분들과 함께 할 수 있는 대회여서 진짜 그분들도 수고했다고 말씀드리고 싶어요.